All right, so I have some questions that I'm going to ask. The first question that I have is e-com stores margins are being squeezed from just about every angle imaginable. Advertising, inventory, merchandise, and overhead costs are universally on the rise. What are some strategies that your brands that you work with, or brands that you're using, or brands that you're working with using to try and gain some of this margin back? And all of you can feel free to answer, and it's popcorn style.
I mean, Aman has that dialed because I talked to him last night and asked this question. So,
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say, like, there's the obvious, like, PR answer, which is nothing. We're gonna absorb all of that. You, the customer, will feel nothing. We'll make sure we take that hit, and we'll raise more money if we have to. And then there's the real answer, which is, like, for a long time, everybody's been rising to the standard that Amazon set on, like, free shipping and returns, all these perks we've gotten used to on e-com, but we've instituted, return label fees now. We've put our first ever in a decade of business. We put our first ever shipping threshold, free shipping only over 100. So finding ways to claw back a little bit to make sure that we can stay above water and continue to produce great products. But I think broadly speaking, actually, some of the partners in here are part of the real answer, which is, okay, fine. There's a service level of, like, eye for an eye, right? We lose money on tariffs, we pass that on to the customer, and that's going to happen to some degree, right? But I think there's the other side of it, which is that necessity breeds invention, right? Where we have to start to figure out how to get more out of our funnel. So while we use a ton of kind of top of funnel advertising, like many of you in Google and Meta, what then happens after that is we have to do a much better job of converting that traffic, right? Which is kind of obvious to say, but Ty, formerly Revenue Roll,
Yes.
am I allowed to still say Revenue Roll? Ty has been a great partner of ours. They're here today in making sure that we now identify, I think 76% of our traffic gets identified, up from like 20%, before we had an identity resolution tool in. So if you think about that, well, now we're able to cross-market to those people on Google, Meta, Microsoft, and beyond. So I think the ability for us to, in that case, squeeze more out of identification. In the case of email, a number of partners where we can squeeze that funnel much harder and get that kind of revenue per recipient up. So I think what happens is that now, your cost of goods is going to go up, right? Naturally, your prices can only go up so much, and probably not a lot of pallet there. And so your challenge is then how to squeeze the rest of it to get more out of it. So we can go into more detail later, but I do think that's where the real magic and winning happens.
I think for a lot of brands, you have to actually start doing the analysis of where your leaks are. I'll talk to a lot of brands, and they don't even know certain areas. They don't even know sometimes that they need to be looking at shipping providers. Like, I won't give you a layup, but, like, if you haven't compared UPS and FedEx and USPS for different areas of the country and different sizes of parcel or different packaging, like, I'm going to challenge you. You shipped a shirt to me in a giant box. You could have probably sent it a poly mailer for me, and it would have saved you money. But
It's true.
It's things like that. If you're not analyzing the full stack of what you're investing in, and your apps, some of your apps you're paying for you don't even use still, there's some dumb areas, I think, that every brand should be looking at, because it's so easy to waste money. Because you go to a conference and you're like, everything is great. Look at this guy. He's great. He's on stage, or this guy. And you sign up for what they have. And then 6 months later, you forgot you were paying for it. Especially on Shopify. It's so easy to, like, have apps that, like, you're no longer even using on the site, that you're like, oh, there's another $30 going out of my pocket every month I didn't even think about. Not that I've ever done that.
I mean, we sat there yesterday at a table together and found 3 minutes of low-hanging fruit that could change our entire, paid ad performance, right? You were sitting at the table with me, and we're saying, wait a second, why don't you have this setting on? It was basically advertising to all languages instead of just English. And these kind of tiny, quick wins where you can get it at situations like this, where we can all cross-pollinate our small
He's not even a
wins.
client of ours yet.
Yeah, right. I was getting unpaid sponsor, not a client. What else do I have? These are all our credentials.
And I think to your point, I think knowing wherever dollar's going is going to be really important. Whether and not only where it's going, but even down to a SKU level. Shameless plug. We have a profit analyzer that will do that. That will tell you to a SKU level where every single dollar is going, every single cent is going. And then you cut out the stuff that isn't needed, or maybe maybe your COGS are high on certain SKUs and you didn't even know it because business is good and margins are fine. But yeah, if it's not our profit analyzer, find a way to track where every single cent's going, because then you can trim out what isn't needed and what you signed up because it was a good idea at the time, and now you're doing it that way because that's always the way it's been done.
By the way, quick story on your big box that you received.
Yep. Thankfully, I have a big mailbox
Yeah.
because my wife's like, "You need a big mailbox." I'm
Yeah,
like, "Okay."
send me a picture.
Okay.
We should get to the bottom of that. But we 2 weeks ago had this issue where for some reason they were packing these things in huge boxes. A plug for Veeqo that if we had no visibility into this at all, and then a customer sending us a monster box on their porch saying, "What on earth am I getting one dress shirt in this box for?" I forwarded that on to our vendor, our 3PL, and they within 3 days issued us a $23,000 credit for basically that entire week overpacking products and charging us the shipping as a result.
Dang.
So they were very
There's your
respon-
answer on how
Yeah.
to save margin.
But
right
they
there.
were responsive and
Pictures.
kind. I actually just got that number like 10 minutes ago, so I was like, all right, that's a win.
Wow.
But to that point, like, what if that customer didn't forward us that email? We should have some better visibility into that. And how long has that been happening? I mean,
Yeah.
it's hard to track back.
And I think you're at a point in time too where you can go back to some of your vendors like that and start asking about pricing.
Yeah.
Because it's much easier and cheaper usually to keep a customer. You don't want to talk to your agency, of course, and ask that question, but some of your tech stack, it's please don't. But it's some of those apps, and also in that vein, free trials. That if they don't offer it, reach out to them. Most of them will have it. They just, if you're going to pay them without testing it, they're going to take it. But you can get free trials to test and measure things. And it's not that hard to find the developer on a Shopify app or a BigCommerce app and just say, hey, I'd like to test this. Do you have something I can do to test this?
You can test ours for free for years and years and years if you want. It's fine.
Or you can pay me $5 and I'll give it to you for free.
So I think, Aman, I think you mentioned this, but one thing that we're seeing a lot of is about regarding return volumes and people sending back the product when it doesn't fit or they don't like it or whatever. So return volumes are a constant drag on operational efficiency and cost control. Shopify states that some verticals see as high as 30% of purchases are returned to the store. What are some ways you've seen to combat this growing trend?
I would love to jump in on this. How many brands or people affected by returns negatively in the room? I'm hoping quite a few. I'm assuming, yeah. One of the things we had no idea on was the right to return is an insanely expensive right. The opportunity to return, if you actually do the math on a 15-20% return rate, the triple shipping, right, to you back and then back to somebody else, all the times that product is touched, any sort of repackaging, and of course a huge damage and obsolescence rate. Product might be out of season, it might have been opened. All these costs end up completely eroding. Any item returned is a completely zero net gain. And so that right to return to the customer may seem small, but to you as a brand, it's kind of the opposite. To you as a brand, it's extremely expensive. And so we've had to kind of create 3 categories of products. Final sale, which we created what we call the magic price. What is the price where we actually get a better margin on a sale item because it's final sale, right? So we can offer you something at 30% off final sale and make more money on it because you have forgiven the right to return. And I think getting that math and that kind of magic number for anyone's brand is critically important to understand. It is, I mean, that's a real number, right? That for 30% off, I can sell you something and make more money than a full price item with the right to return. And the second thing is exchange only promotions. So we've switched all of our promotions. If we're ever offering more than 25% off, the item is eligible for exchange only. So at least we can retain that revenue. And then the third option is just making sure that we actually advertise and celebrate free returns when we do offer it. So if it is going to be a perk, we may as well let people know. But I think the most important thing there is at least understanding how incredibly painful those returns can be to your P&L, and to some degree letting your customers in on that secret too.
Yeah.
But on that vein, especially if you're in the fashion world, understanding on your product pages how to make sure that that person's buying the right size. Like, I think your site does a really good job because I have never bought from you before I bought this shirt because I wanted to try it, make sure you weren't lying about your quality. And so I was like, well, I don't know what a small, medium, large is going to look like from Ministry of Supply, but they made it very easy to measure things. And so it was, if you aren't doing that, you have to test that, make sure you see if that lowers your return rate. But returns generally suck. When I had my brand, it was, we just credited the money back because it was cheaper than handling the return. And if you have a durable or a good that once it's open, it can't be used again, it's like, just keep it and throw it away or something, but I don't want it back. Yeah. That's easier on Amazon to do it too, because Amazon is painful for returns.
I work at Veeqo.
Yeah.
Well, one thing, yeah, I mean, we actually used to work with a Swedish children's clothing brand, and they had a very unique and European, Swedish sizing methodology. And so when they went eComm for the first time, so they used to be brick and mortar where people would go in and look at the clothes, try them on. When they originally transitioned to eComm, they were getting returns like crazy because nobody understood their sizing model. And we took a look at this and we told them like, well, you probably need to do some sort of like conversion code or, to conversion to US sizes. Otherwise you're going to get returns like crazy. And that's absolutely something that needs to be looked at. Another thing that I think goes underutilized is that if you're using Google Analytics primarily as your source of truth, you're probably not tracking returns. You can pipe in that data into GA4. I don't know if I've ever worked with someone that does. And so what's interesting is when you do switch to e-commerce or to platforms like Triple Whale, you're going to see that data because it's going to pipe it in directly from BigCommerce or Shopify. And I've had people start looking at a new source of truth and they're like, what's this? And it's like, well, that's all your returns. It's like, well, why are they so bad? And like, they've always been bad. You just haven't been looking at them. So it's definitely something, if you're not monitoring that within your e-commerce strategy, highly recommended because it may change some of your overall targets and your overall goals.
We took down, I mean, in making some of those changes I mentioned, we took revenue down for an entire year by about 20% by basically firing bad customers, right? So we use Triple Whale. We appreciate the net view, right? To understand the actual cash view of all of this. And we said when we change our shipping policy, we're going to lose a lot of $50 orders, right? Free shipping on a pair of socks. We're going to lose that. And that's okay, right? We're going to lose the people that are mad because they can't return something. Maybe that's okay, right? And so I think to some degree, being comfortable saying, look, firing your bad, I'm a bad customer at most brands. You should all fire me.
Right.
So I get it. I understand that like sometimes you're looking for a deal and then if it doesn't work out, you want to return it, right? But that costs the brand money. So being really comfortable saying we are okay letting that revenue go. Yeah,
absolutely. Because shipping costs for returns can add up very quickly.
I was just going to say the other thing is, and I've seen some significant drop in return rates with making sure you're sending the right product. And looking at your efficiencies out of your warehouse from a shipping standpoint of, are you still picking with a paper slip? Have you not moved to digital picking? Digital picking is a solve for a lot of that stuff where you can't pick the wrong product if it's stored in the right bin. If you scan it, it's like, nope, that's a blue sock. It should have been a white sock. But make sure you're sending the right stuff. Certainly can help that efficiency and lower your returns.
Yeah, I talked to Vince last night, he's one of our clients, and he gets toasters returned from his clients on Amazon. He gets the box back with a toaster. Not what he sold them, lost money on that. Yeah. Some of the things I've brainstormed with Ironman 4x4 was charging customers to be members or to have more exclusive access to your brand. And so for them, they if you want to make your truck or vehicle look like it goes off-road, even if you just drive your kids to soccer like us, they do it, and they do a great job of it. And so we looked at the example for them for laundry sauce. Has everybody heard of laundry sauce? Essentially really fancy laundry detergent that they charge $75 to be a member of laundry sauce. I'm like, yeah, I'm paying you to get laundry sauce from me. That's crazy. Because that's not, you don't get product with that. But you can go to their site and look at what their membership looks like. But they're getting a lot of people to sign up to really engage with the brand and do more with it. And so some of the things we talked about with Ironman was, how do we give value to people that is not normal? And that's where you can, like, if you're paying $75, and evidently the threshold on membership is up to $150 a year. People will pay if you get benefit. And so for Ironman, they're looking at saying, how do we charge a membership about $75 that gives you free shipping on all orders and or free returns, potentially, depending on what the brand's looking like. But then they're going to do like specific events like in the Moab out in Utah and say, hey, we're going to go and have a photographer out there. If you want to drive your truck out, you get exclusive access to this, and we're going to give you cool images on your social media that then we're going to reuse from UGC, but you're going to feel cool because now you have pictures of your truck like climbing up a mountain, which you couldn't get, driving your kids to soccer practice like mine. And people pay their own way for that, but they have access, and all Ironman had to do was hire a photographer to come out and make their trucks look cool, which they were going to do anyway.
Yeah, I love my Costco membership, so big membership guy. Speaking of, just way to reduce costs, are there any major differences or opportunities that you've found when regard to shipping fulfillment strategies that have legitimately cut costs for businesses?
I can take that
All
one.
right, take that one.
As I said in the intro, Veeqo does multi-channel shipping fulfillment. We do it for free. We do inventory management. We do it for free. We do profit analytics. We do it for free. Warehousing solutions for free. I say that to say, take a look at your tech stack, take a look at the tools that you're using, and maybe Veeqo isn't the right answer. Maybe it's not a fit for you, but maybe there are, back to, the earlier conversation, maybe there are things you're buying in your tech stack that you don't need to. Maybe there are things that you're buying, that they offer the same service you're buying from somebody else. Maybe you're buying labels from somebody and inventory management from somebody else, and you could wrap it all in one for less. So take a hard look at your tech stack. There's a lot of cost reduction there.
And fun fact, based on the contracts you have with FedEx and UPS, you can't show a lower price than other, like there's a minimum price, right? Like if I'm shipping this to here and Shopify says it's $6, likely that's the floor that UPS or FedEx has set, right?
Yes. So the major carriers have those contracts with companies, like us, like with Shopify, with ShipWorks, with ShipBob, with Pirate Ship, ShipStation, pick a ship anything, and then we're Veeqo. So easy to remember, right? So ship anything and then Veeqo. The solution Veeqo has for offering the lowest commercially available rates is we take those rates for FedEx, for UPS, for USPS, for DHL, and then we give you a credit back up to 5% on every single shipment. What that can look like if you're shipping, 10,000 units a month, that can look like $7,500 in 2 months, based on an average shipment of, $7.50. A little bit more if you're shipping in bigger boxes just for fun. Your credits
Amon's
become
got
bigger.
a really big credit potential.
Aman, I'm sorry. That was wrong. I'm sorry.
I get roasted here.
I'm sorry.
When I met Michael this morning for the first time, the first thing I said to him was, "I hate your shirt."
That was the opening comment. So yeah, we have a history. Yes, we met in person.
Michael, can I ask you what I hope is actually a layup, but is a genuine question as we are launching our Veeqo trial today? How I get skeptical when I hear free. I'm sure other people do. We're like, well, you must be making money somewhere. Is there a catch? What gives? Is it a contract? This is me preparing for it. We're this afternoon going to set it up live together. We have a time set this afternoon to work on getting Veeqo trial live. So before we do that, I can ask you later, or I can ask you on stage.
No. It's a good question. I'm back to the shirt comment to start with, and you're right. I should be. Your shirt's way nicer than mine, so I should be wearing your stuff. The short version is Amazon's going to retain a small portion of that label. So each label sale, we make a tiny bit of money, and if you multiply that by the size and scale of what Amazon does, and not only Amazon, it's important to call out is I know a lot of you guys have big Shopify businesses. You don't have to sell on Amazon to use Veeqo. It can be Shopify, it can be eBay, it can be Walmart, it can be all of the above. It can be. It's not big commerce, right? It's commerce. It can be commerce. We connect with all of them pretty seamlessly. If your tech stack's more complicated, you can do it with API. But yeah, the short answer is we get a little bit back for each one. And then if you multiply that by the scale of the things that are shipped and the sellers that we support, it makes sense.
Do you still get perks if you're an Amazon seller, like on the back end? Like there used to be like you get ranking increases in certain things, right? For protections.
Protections is going to be getting into the algorithms of how stuff's ranked on our websites. We'll leave that for somebody else. But as far as if you are an Amazon seller, you will wind up with OTDR protection for seller fulfilled Prime as well. It is eClaims protection, and all of it's free. Back to cutting cost, right? Because that's what the panel's about, is cutting costs. And no matter how much of our services you use or how little, if you want to use the inventory management piece, that's fine. It's free. If you don't want to use it because you have a great one, it's still free to not use it. So all of those are free to use, and you can kind of do what makes sense for your business, where it makes sense for your business. And then, of course, we're making money.
Great. You should.
But yeah, if you're an Amazon seller, you do get those claims protection, A to Z, OTDR, all that stuff as well.
Awesome. Well, yeah, we've talked a lot about shipping cost savings and returns cost savings. Are there any other areas of the business that you've seen success in renegotiating terms that have helped your business save money?
We're not allowed to say agencies, right? That's not
We cannot, outside of agencies, cannot say agencies.
We got a tip that really worked well that maybe for those of you on the brand side will appreciate, which was with the tariffs in mind, we moved about half of our business to New York and the other half stayed in the Far East. But with our Asian factory partners, we just asked for FOB pricing, which it sounds obvious at the outset, and you're saying, well, there's only two ways that would be better: is if they're lying to you, or if you're actually going to end up paying more by doing that. And the reality is actually neither of those were true. What ended up happening was that they don't want to tell you that for a dress shirt that we're paying $50 for, only 25 of that is their hard cost cut make, right? The other 25 is value added or fabric. And so they can protect that number by charging you the tariff only on the cut make, which is perfectly legal and above water. I'm graying out a little bit there in terms of the mechanics of it all, but shifting to a better, deeper partnership with your factory, where that's a win-win, right? The only loser there is the amount of tariffs you're paying. But the factory's equal or fine. They might make a small concession there, and then you're better off than if you were paying ex-factory pricing. So a small one that if at least one of you in the room benefited from could be a massive shift.
One of the areas that we leveraged at one of my brands wasn't necessarily a negotiation, but it was thinking through our cost of shipping one unit was actually almost identical to shipping two. And so we started thinking through, how do we get bundles in place that our hard fixed costs are going to be the same, but my revenue goes up. Instead of making, it was $20 at the time, that we could say, hey, we could charge 35, give them two, and our shipping and fulfillment costs are pretty much the same. And so thinking through that, when it's going to cost me $6 to ship this to Miami, no matter what, I might as well add on. So even, I would say, cross-sell, upsell after the fact. That's been there's a few apps that'll do that on most platforms, where you got an order for a shirt, like, all right, we're already shipping that in a giant box. We might as well put some socks in there. We might as well put some pants in there. Like, let's give them a deal on the next thing to add on, because the shipping's already there.
Love it. All right. So we talked a lot about cost cutting. Now, what are some, as far as business operations go, what are some revenue add no-brainers, even though they may come at a cost, but because the revenue outweighs the cost, what are some easy layups that you've seen?
hiring the right agency for sure.
No, logical
No,
position.
I mentioned it briefly earlier, but finding what, like scanners,
Yeah.
for digital picking. It's a little bit of a cost on the start, but yeah, as far as workflow efficiency, inventory management, all that stuff, you're going to pick up so much savings.
I like looking at multiple fulfillment spaces, because those zones, when you're looking at shipping, and we're really talking on shipping because it's what I joke about it, but UPS doesn't take a cut on their margins when you have returns or have to do things. You're paying that no matter what. And so if you can ship fewer times or cut the cost of that last mile. So, we used some of our stuff. We had a lot of FBA inventory, and FBA, I mean, it would be hard to argue against the fact that Amazon probably has better shipping data than any company on the planet around, if they have it here and we're selling this many, they're going to know where that is, and they're going to minimize their cost because they've given it to us for free. But we've used their system to fulfill some website orders. We've used it to fulfill some of our marketplace orders, like Amazon or Walmart, with some of their unmarked boxes. So there's a lot of ways you can look, I think, at refining some of the things rather than even before you have to renegotiate with some of your shipping. If you're big enough and you have a direct contract with a big shipper, you for sure should negotiate that because they're willing to negotiate with you.
I think certainly on the ops side, I think I would agree with both of those. I think on the kind of sell side of the business, I would just say interrogate your stack a little bit. And I think we were so beholden to our tech stack and some of these partners we'd been with for 7-8 years that we didn't realize maybe weren't the right ones for us anymore. And we treated them like they were sacred. And when we dropped them, we were better off. And we found our new playbook. I'll say, like, for events like this, I often come and I'm like, what's the exact point, right? Like, why are we doing this? And then at the end of the day, you end up with a page of notes and you're really fired up and excited because you met 2 new partners and learned two kind of quick tricks or low-hanging fruit. If that's all you take away, that's a monster win. So here, like we're using Triple Whale, and that became the reason we started to shift our ad spend a lot, quite dramatically, based on what that source of truth was versus in platform. We use Klaviyo, and we have since 2014 we've been on Klaviyo, but injecting other partners like Arita and One Text, right, and finding other partners to kind of play nicely with that ecosystem. Obviously, I mentioned we use Tie, not just to plug them, but to say we're really proud of this stack, but constantly interrogating it, right? If there's a better partner, a better solution out there, finding that opportunity, often within this room, either from the sponsors, but more likely from the brands telling you who they like, to kind of drop the sacred tag you have on some of your partners and keep your eyes open.
Oh yeah, and at LP, we've got 7,000 clients. We've got data all over the place that we see things that work, things that don't work. And I think at least every 2 years, you should be looking at your entire tech stack and deciding, have you outgrown something in that tech stack? It's just because it worked in 2018 does not mean it's going to work for you the same way in 2025. Like you hopefully continue to outgrow things and add bigger and bigger things to your tech stack. Like, MailChimp's not here. They're a great platform, but if you're doing $10 million a year in eComm, you've probably outgrown that platform. And you need to be thinking about a new email system. Started you, great. And congratulations, you outgrew it. That's a great thing.
And you touched on it, looking at, again, back to shipping, looking at your shipping rates. And if you don't have your own negotiated rates with FedEx, with UPS, or maybe you do, maybe you have great negotiated rate with FedEx, but maybe UPS offers something better. Maybe USPS offers something better. You certainly can do that. Or find a shipping software that's going to analyze all of that and tell you what the cheapest rate is based on where it's going and how it's getting there and what speed it needs to get there, and does it automatically.
Awesome. Well, thank you. All right. That's all the questions I have for the panel. Thank you for all those insightful answers. Is there anyone in the audience that has any questions for anyone up here based on what you just heard?
Or based on what you didn't
Or
hear.
based on what you didn't hear. Maybe there's an answer you want to know that you didn't
ask
get.
us anything. Michael was in the Air
AMA.
Force.
I was in the Air Force, yeah.
I have a 10-year-old headshot. You can get
haven't
real
changed at all.
personal. You can get real personal with these questions.
All right. I got a question. I'm going to run over to you with a mic since you're all the way over here.
This might not be necessarily a question. One of the things I've seen recently that I just really enjoyed, so if anything, I'm sharing it with the world. And I know like Veeqo is already doing it, and so many other platforms are already doing it. But if you're not, that customer confidence, when you finally get to the checkout page and you see that shipping and it's like super optimized, it tells you like, for a fact that, machine learning is giving us enough notice to be like, well, we're packing at approximately this rate based on the fact that it's a Monday, we came off after a weekend or whatever. These things can like pad in that time into delivery times. And so you get that extra piece of confidence to be like, hey, I'm going to buy this package because it'll arrive on Tuesday. It's not the fact that I got a 3 to 5 day shipping. It's the fact that it got there on Tuesday and I actually leave for the beach on Wednesday. So these little tiny tools right now, if you're not using them, if you're still using shipping profiles of flat rates and you're not quite there, jump on with these guys because these guys got some great tools and it's really, really working. We've seen conversion rates go like just drastically up the charts and it's really cool. So again, not a question, but more like thank you for making these tools for us.
Is there any other questions? Oh, I got one up there.
We got one up on there, yeah.
Yeah, you're making me work. All right, no, it's all good. I'm coming. Oh, yeah, go for it.
Yeah, there we go. Scott from Allbirds. We're going to see him later today, too, on stage.
Hey, Aman, I was hoping you could talk a little bit more about Tie and specifically our revenue roll. I don't know which one you call it, but it's Tie now? Okay, cool. How specifically you came to land with them, what other vendors you used in your sort of RFP process, and what you're seeing from them and whether or not, it's been working.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So generally speaking, I'll give like the longer version of the answer for those that aren't familiar with it. The IR space, I think it's broadly called, and Tie, you can cover your ears for a moment.
Infrared, right?
Infrared, yeah, I think that's what it is. Yeah. Identity resolution, is that right? But so we were new to the whole thing. We were partners with another kind of company who actually didn't want us to do this. And they were kind of like, no, don't even look at it. We were at the time looking at retention.com, revenue roll, now Tie, OpenSend, and customers.ai. And we actually tested two partners against each other. And I won't say who the other one was, but revenue roll won out quite dramatically. I don't think that's universal. I do think it's worth like understanding the whole system. For us, it was like a 38% ID rate on the other partner. And like I said, last week we were at a 76 with revenue roll. And obviously there's confidence factors, so you have to make sure they're good quality leads. But what I'll say is two things. One is we believe it to be kind of fully above water. We've done our diligence. We've worked with our legal team to make sure that that's the case. But two is we're constantly afraid of leaky buckets. I think shipping is the number one leaky bucket that still exists, as we can tell. It's a large boxed leaky bucket. But the cross-platform ability, so one of the reasons we liked Tye was because they could provide Meta and Google audiences, and we do a lot of advertising on both. So if somebody comes to us from Meta, we identify them, and then we put it into a Google remarketing audience. We finally have this ability to create the anti-leaky bucket audience builder, right? So we can remarket on one platform, prospect on the other, and vice versa, and they play well together. So I don't know that it's perfect for everybody, but that was my goal. We don't actually email that much. I think everybody thinks of identity resolution as a chance to email more people. We send one email, and if you don't touch it, we'll never email you again. And even that I'm debating getting rid of because I don't want to. It feels like an invasion of privacy when you visit a site and they email you and you didn't give them your email. But for some reason, if you get a Meta ad from them, it doesn't. So, but some of the recommendations are to email them 4 or 5 times, and that just feels like it's an invasion of their inbox. So, one even feels generous, but I'm fine with it. But I don't know. Do you guys do any?
We have a lot to talk about.
Yeah. I can't wait. By the way, are these the new Allbirds that you're wearing?
These are actually not out yet, so don't tell Tim. But
Okay,
yeah,
all right.
these will be out.
Okay. They look great.
Thanks. So yeah, we use. So I didn't realize Ty was in the room. Where's Ty? Raise your hand. Hey, we'll talk later. Yeah, we actually use Wunderkind. And
We have a lot to talk
yeah,
about.
well, I'm sure we do. Yeah.
That might require a couple beers. I know that.
No. I'm ready.
So yeah,
I'm ready now.
I've never actually used a more polarizing vendor than Wunderkind.
Right after this, I'm going to come find you.
Yeah, no, for sure. But at the end of the day, my takeaway is like if you know how to use these tools, and you understand what you're using them for, you negotiate well in the RFP process, and you figure out what cost works for you, and you have a way of trying to measure incrementality. Like generally, you'll find some value in it, but Ryan, you made a really good point about every couple of years, you should be evaluating your tech stack and you should be figuring out, have we outgrown this? Is it still working for us? Why are we using it as a part of our bigger strategy? And, we're without saying too much, in the process of doing that. Hence my question about Tye.
We had signed a 3-year contract with an unnamed vendor, and that's exactly why Ryan said every couple of years you should be evaluating. Well, you can't if you sign a 3-year contract, so... But I think that this is exactly the type of conversation that should be happening today, which is like, let's get into it. Let's talk about like the exact stack and why we like it, and let's challenge each other. And whoever else wants to join us, we'll find some space after this to talk about it.
Yeah, identity resolution for email and ads. If anyone wants to talk about it, come find us.
It's almost like you're tying things together.
That's why they changed the name.
Yeah, we'll roll right into that.